Okay, could I have your name, your rank, and serial number, please?
Barbara Jordan, member of Congress from the 18th District of Texas.
What's the committee going to do?
Which will be developed. Obstruction of justice, that's a general term, but I think that is a case which the committee will try to develop. The tampering, bribery, the tax returns, whether there would possibly be some illegal action on the part of the president related to his tax returns. I think that the White House plumbers, domestic surveillance, that this is going to be one of the big issues the committee will view to determine just why the President of the United States felt it necessary to spy on citizens of this country. The matter of the offer of the directorship of the FBI to Judge Byrne during the Ellsberg trial, that will come in. All of these matters, I think, tampering with the evidence, there's a long list.
You believe you're going to have proof that the president was involved in each and every one of these, or more of a suspicion that he was?
No, sir. I don't think we're going to have proof of the president's involvement, but what we are going to have is enough evidence that a reasonable man, and all of the members of the Judiciary Committee are reasonable men and women, that a reasonable man would look at it and say, there is probable cause that's true. There is reasonable cause to believe that these allegations, these facts which have been developed are true. And if we believe that they're true, then I think we have a duty to vote for impeachment.
This is an election year. Will the House then vote because of the politics of trying to get reelected? Will the House then vote for impeachment?
You know, I feel very strongly that the House of Representatives will make its decision on the basis of the facts. The Constitution provides impeachment as the remedy when public officials abuse their power. If the House does not sort of bite the bullet, as it were, and take a firm stand now, then impeachment, I feel, will be weakened and almost non-existent as a remedy if we can't bring it to bear in the cases where it ought to be brought to bear.
Good, strong ending.
To us the importance of your job and the job of your committee concerning the impeachment of the President of the United States.
Well, there are a total, I believe, of 30-some resolutions pending before our committee charging the President with misconduct and commission of criminal offenses, and that on the basis of that he should be impeached under the constitutional provisions which have been provided in the Constitution for removal of the President, Vice President, or other civil officers. And this is an unprecedented situation, of course. We've had only one other impeachment proceeding involving a president. That was the case of Andrew Johnson, who was trying to carry out the policies of Abraham Lincoln following his assassination. So that we have to determine whether or not any of these charges made against the president do constitute impeachable offenses, and then on the basis of those charges to determine whether or not the facts support the charges made against the president. This is a constitutional role of the House of Representatives and the House Judiciary Committee, and we'll report probably sometime in the latter part of April and either recommend articles of impeachment, in which event the House of Representatives would then have to vote. And if they would vote in favor of the impeachment, then of course it would go to the Senate of the United States for trial. Or we will report that the President should be exonerated, and I hope that that would then put the days just very informally, but I haven't met with him, and I don't expect to meet with him, especially during this period. I don't expect to meet with him because, in a sense, we are trying to adjudge his innocence or his or whether there's probable cause to charge him with some offense, and I think probably would be better to not have any contact with the President during this period.
Thank you very much, Mr. Congressman.
Surely, thank you. Issue at rest.
Are you in favor of impeachment of the President of the United States, bearing in mind the international importance of this step?
I think it's a very traumatic experience that we're going through, and I don't, of course, want to express an opinion as to what my ultimate vote would be on this issue. I am very anxious that we dispose of the issue as promptly as possible, and I think that if the charges are so serious that and are supported by competent evidence, then of course we have to do what is what our constitutional duty is. On the other hand, it seems to me that if the President is not guilty of these offenses, and we must presume his innocence, then I think we ought to put this issue to the side and as you indicate, enable him to carry on with the full prestige of his office in connection with our international affairs.
Mr. Congressman, what is the moral state of the American presidency at the moment?
Well, I think there's a general suspicion that is directed toward the President and toward almost all persons in public office at the present time, and I think that's something that we want to handle as capably and as expeditiously as we can. We want to restore confidence to the office of the President, restore honor and respect for all of us who serve in public office, and to bring the prestige and reputation of our national government in the office.
Name, rank, and serial number, please.
Well, I'm David W. Dennis, Congressman of the 10th Indiana District, Republican.
Mr. Dennis, what's the status now of the impeachment move here in the House?
Well, it's before the Judiciary Committee, of which I happen to be a member. I would say it's in a very preliminary stage. The staff has been doing a good deal of work, I understand, legal research, and I assume some factual research, and subcommittee, which is supposed to be in a supervisory position over the staff work, is having a meeting tomorrow to get a report of progress, I think. And that's about where we are as far as I know at the moment.
Can you possibly hope to make that April 15th deadline?
I would like very much to do it, and I think we ought to work toward it. Realistically, I think it's certainly debatable whether we can do it or not.
Are you going to have to call hearings, calling your own witnesses, gathering your own evidence?
Well, of course, that's one of the things to be decided. Much of it, I think, will be studying what's already been done, but we may want to call some witnesses. That depends on developments to some extent. And, of course, if we're going to call witnesses, we're going to have to get subpoena power from the House, which I think we will do. Another question which arises is, should we get the authority to subpoena and force the production in court, if necessary, of documents such as the Congress recently gave to the Irvin Committee. And now, of course, if some of those matters are litigated, well, obviously we're going to run into more time.
What's your position? You've just returned now from your home district. What's your position now on the question of impeachment?
Well, I don't have to decide it today, and of course none of the evidence is in yet as far as our committee's concerned, so I don't want to take any
Minute gap. Would you vote for impeachment?
Well, those are iffy questions, and I don't want to guess them off ahead of time, but that would certainly be a very serious development of a nature that we have not had up to date.
There's Could I have your name, rank, and serial number, please?
Jerome Waldi, 14th Congressional District, California.
Mr. Waldi, have you arrived at what you consider to be a comprehensive definition of impeachment?
Yes, I think so. There are two definitions. If the president has committed an indictable offense, he clearly is impeachable. If the president has abused his office beyond that which a reasonable person could possibly conceive would be the case, and no longer is received the confidence of the people in a sufficient degree to govern, then he has committed an impeachable offense at that point too.
At which of those two definitions do you think the Judiciary Committee will use as its basis for its hearings?
Well, I personally believe they could use either, because I think the president has in fact committed indictable crimes. And
which ones?
Offenses. I think he's committed it in terms of his tax returns to begin with. I think he probably is also committed in terms of obstruction of justice. I think his offer of a judgeship to the director of the FBI to a judge who was trying a case involving the federal government in which he was interested is one example. I think the unrefuted testimony of John Dean that he offered executive clemency to the Watergate conspirators is another, and I think the president's involvement in the obliteration of the tapes is further presumptive evidence of obstruction of justice sufficient to sustain an impeachable offense.
But are they sufficient to convict?
Well, that's up to the Senate. My responsibility as a member of the House Judiciary Committee and a member of the House of Representatives is to be reasonably convinced that the president has committed impeachable offenses. The trial then permits the president to assert any defenses he so desires. At this point, he has chosen not to come up with a defense. If he chooses a similar course of conduct in the Senate, he'll be convicted, and he should be convicted if he so chooses.
Are we faced with a situation that if the House does vote impeachment, that we're going to go into the courts to get some definitions of the limitations of impeachment, what the Senate can and cannot do?
I think not. I can hardly conceive of the president contesting an impeachment vote on the basis that an impeachable offense, in fact, was not described in the articles of impeachment that were voted, because the lines as to what constitutes an impeachable offense are really, I think, fairly well defined, and I think the actions of the president in terms of an impeachable offense are so clearly defined that there would be no real question that the constitutional grounds have been complied with and fully.
All of the polls that I have seen indicate that the American public is not at that point to want impeachment yet. I need name, rank, and serial number.
Yeah, Tom Railsback, Republican from the 19th District of Illinois.
What's your home district telling you? Are they telling you that it's necessary now to go to impeachment to clear the air or cleanse the presidency?
I would say the loudest thing they told it. Well, I think most of your House members that have been polled have indicated that they're undecided, and I think they're waiting for the evidence, so I would say that it would be against impeachment unless there's some evidence that directly links the president to obstruction of justice or some of the other serious allegations.
You're suggesting that if he can be directly or indirectly linked to that erasure of that 18-minute gap, that would be an impeachable offense?
Well, I'm not sure that it would be good enough to, I don't know what you mean by indirectly, but I would say that if one of the persons that had something to do, if there was more than one, had something to do with that erasure, indicated that it had been authorized by the president and that person was credible, in other words, was a believable witness, I would think in the eyes of most members that would constitute a very serious offense.
Will you